Hi, everyone. Welcome back to a live. I haven't done a live in so long. I'll wait a little bit for some people to pop on here because that's just how it works. That's the Facebook Live. I need a manicure. It's been a while. I haven't had a chance to really jump on to lives or do any lives like that because it's just been so busy. I've been in nonstop auditions. Sarah! Hi! Oh my gosh, how are you, Sarah? Sarah knows me in my old life, my casting life. So what I was saying is that it's just been so busy that I've been scheduling these lives on my calendar, and then a client would call and I'd be like, yeah, so I guess I won't go live this week. But it's back. Like, I'm back here and I'm happy to be back because this is actually something I really love doing. My sea monkeys. Welcome to my sea monkeys. Hey, Lee, how are you? Oh my gosh, Sarah, I'm a beauty. That's hysterical. I need to get my roots done. My nails, I'm going to talk like this because they're so bad. The manicure is needed. I actually do need some self-care in the next few days. I was running, I feel like I was going with both, what do they call it when like both ends are burning? Candle burning at both ends. And I feel like I wasn't sleeping a lot. My body was giving out on me. And now I'm finally calming down and getting back to me. But that's just the way this business works. It's so crazy. It's like, oh my God, wine and spa day. I want to do a wine and spa day and hang. Let's do that. I would love to, actually, Sarah. Let's get together. Things are slower. I feel like, you know what? I should talk to you about getting Chris as a guest on the podcast because it would be so good to have, Sarah's husband, Chris, is a big producer. We work together on a few different shows. Okay, so Emily, hey, welcome. What I was saying is that it's just been so busy, and finally, it's weird the way this business works. Like, it's so crazy. You get so intense and so overwhelmed, and you feel like you can't, see straight. And then it just like slows. It's nuts. It goes really fast from busy and crazy to kind of like at a calm pace. So I have clients every single day this week, but I have time in between my clients and I have breaks. And so the good news about that is that I'm able to spend that time in, working towards growing the business and creating more content and doing podcast interviews and things that I wasn't able to really fit in as much. The bad news is that, business is slow. That means kind of my business is kind of indicative of the business in general for kids and acting. If I'm a little slower, usually means that the auditions aren't as crazy. Everyone's going to have a different situation. Like Lee, if you're still watching, every single actor is going to have a different journey. So this week may be really crazy for you. And oh my gosh, you guys are going to, this is so funny. Sarah, literally, Sarah who's watching right now, her husband, Chris, is a producer. I was just saying, we've worked on a variety of different shows, and she just said that now he just started a Nickelodeon show, a remake of All That, which is so funny, Sarah, but because of that project that your husband's working on, it's been keeping me busy. Because every single person, every kid is auditioning for that project and has auditioned for that project. It's so unbelievable. And actually, I just saw a breakdown yesterday that was released for a boy. They're still looking for an 11 to 13-year-old boy. And I spoke to the casting director, and she said that that's the one thing they're still looking for. Any shape, any size, any type, anything. So if you're watching this and you have an 11 to 13-year-old boy, no matter where you live or who you look like or whatever, let me know. We can get you on tape and send it into casting. That is so funny, Sarah. I'm definitely going to have to talk to Chris about that. Anyway, so I know that like Lee's daughter had a busy week or is having a busy week. Every single actor is going to have a different influx of crazy. And so whereas I may be a little bit slower for whatever reason, that doesn't mean that the business is stopping. I know a lot of casting directors who are going, but just, the roles are a little different this week. Maybe they're not doing as many kid roles or whatever. And every single time things slow, before I know it, it's so funny. I kind of forced myself to take a break the other day, and I got into that Michael Jackson documentary, Leaving Neverland. If you are a kid watching this or watching that documentary, don't watch that documentary. Oh my gosh, that's really, that is a whole other conversation that we should actually have at some point. on my podcast, we should talk about child safety and how important that is. Because, whoa, that was a lot to watch, right? I'm going to, I know, Sarah. Hold on. I just realized I want to share this into the Young Actors Guide so that I'm sharing it on online. Okay. So, yeah. So we definitely need to talk about child safety. And if you guys have any questions about that, what I always kind of like to go with is that as mothers and as fathers, we usually have a gut intuition. And in that case, in that documentary, I don't know what those parents were thinking. That seems to be an exception and not the overall rule. But as parents, if you're going to an audition and if you're going to coaching or if you're going to a class and it feels a little shady and it feels a little like, I don't know, not something you would feel comfortable about, I think you follow your gut and you question about maybe sending your kids into an unsafe environment. That's why when people come to coach with me, number one, I work from my home. Those of you guys that coach with me, you know that I work from my home, which is like a little bit weird, I have to be honest. I've never done that before. I only started doing that in this business. I actually used to be very anti the idea of like mixing home and work. But because I work with kids, it feels like a little bit, safer. I work with adults too, but usually I know them before they come into my home. But because I work with kids, I'm very aware of that. So the parents are always welcome to sit in. Now, the problem is that a lot of times kids go in without parents because they feel like they can do better without their parents watching. So a lot of times I'm coaching kids and their parents are sitting right there, which is a little bit uncomfortable. I'm not going to lie. It's not uncomfortable for me as much as it just feels like it's going to affect the coaching session a little bit. But I'd much rather that than the parent be outside being concerned about the safety of their kid. I want them to understand that like what I do is completely, I have my child's performer's permit or whatever, CPS. I have a very kind of like kid-friendly home. I have 2 young kids. We're out in the open. We never go with like in a closed door ever. That's the way it works. Sarah, some of my mom friends were told that they had to send their minor kids in alone, like 7 and 8-year-olds. Is that wrong? For what? For auditions? If it's for auditions, it's right. It's crazy. It's unbelievable how young you have to be, but you have to go into auditions alone. And a lot of times, like when I worked at Osbrink, yes, for Sarah, for sure, auditions, kids go in alone, no matter how young they are. They don't want the parents in there for a reason. I think parents only go in when the kid is like baby. And you can't just and sometimes they take the babies from the parents too because they want to gauge, separation anxiety. When I was saying, when I was working at Osbrink, I rep the adults, but in the under 6 and under section, they would bring the kids in without the parents all the time for the meetings. It's important to see how a kid will do without their parents standing right there. And I understand, Sarah, so you're saying they were uncomfortable with that. Well, the problem is that unfortunately in this business, that is the norm. Now, what would make me uncomfortable is if I was going to an audition, some random Craigslist audition, or my agent or manager didn't send it to me, or it felt like a little bit, not a mainstream audition. But if they're auditioning for a show like, a Disney or Nickelodeon show or a Netflix show for, kids, they're going to go in without parents. But usually you feel like a little bit more comfortable with it because it's like a real show. It's a real deal show, and you know who the casting director is, and it's not some random name that you've never heard of some guy that wrote, directed, and produced the project. And by the way, it's always better to be safe than sorry, so you can always, reach out to me if you're going in for something that you don't really know who it is, and I'll try to do my research. Always Google. Okay, Sarah, I totally get it, but when they're taken away to another room, it can be questionable. These days, moms think the worst, especially in Hollywood. So yeah, so there's some really, really, I'm not going to lie. I saw Leaving Neverland, and I went to CVS yesterday with my boys, and I'm sitting there, and I have a 6.5-year-old and a 3-year-old boy, and there's guys walking around, and I'm not just saying it's only men. I'm just saying my head was there because I had just watched this documentary, and I'm thinking guys, stay close to me. I don't know what's and I was just at a CVS in the middle of the day. So it's easy for your mind to go there. Now, the way I look at it is like, this is the way this business has always been. And usually any of this kind of crazy stuff that happens doesn't usually happen in an audition environment. It usually happens once it's like a really sad conversation to have. But if you watch that Oprah special after that documentary, it usually tends to happen after they get like a familiarity with each other. So any single person that I've noticed that has gone through this, from what I've seen, it's usually not a stranger. It's usually someone that you kind of feel close with and that you've like developed a friendship with. So that's when I think parents need to be a little bit more nervous. In terms of an audition, yes, the kids always go in alone. From all my auditions I've ever done, I've never brought a parent in, except when we were casting Stuck in the Middle, the pilot, and it was little babies who ended up being older in the actual show. But for the pilot, they were looking for like under 2 years old. And so, of course, the parents came in for that. But once they're like talking and walking, 5 and up, they go in alone. If you're still watching, Ella, is she going in alone to all these auditions? I'm guaranteeing she is. So it feels weird, I know. And then you have to wonder, is this business for you? You know? Lee, you were saying something about, oh, there you go. Ella has been going into auditions alone since age 3. So there you go. It's trippy. On social media, we industry parents help watch out for each other. Yeah, that's another thing. Sarah, I'll totally take it. Let you take all my girls as long as you want. Yeah, look at it like babysitting for a half hour or 5 minutes. It's like you can get some quiet. My 3-year-old doesn't stop talking. Does anyone want to audition him for a minute? Bye. Yeah, so that's really funny, actually. So obviously use your sixth sense, trust your gut, do some research on every project you're auditioning for and make sure that it's legit. And the truth is, it's 2019. You've heard all these crazy stories. It's better to be safe than sorry. I mean, this is just acting we're talking about. So it's really important to have these, to put it in perspective. This isn't like, a life or death situation. If it's really making you uncomfortable, it's better to pull out. Amber, I think it's great to always have conversations with our little actors as well as to what is okay or make them uncomfortable. 100%. So that's something that parents in this Leaving Neverland documentary never really talked to their kids about. I don't think the parents ever said, hey, now I don't want to give too much away, but like when you're sleeping with Michael Jackson in his room, is there anything going, like, is there feeling, is there touching? You understand that those are your private part, whatever it is. I'm not a doctor. I can bring on, actually, I'm going to do this. I'm going to bring on like someone that is in this field to help us navigate how to talk to kids about this and how to prepare ourselves about child safety in Hollywood. I think it's a really good idea, and I'm going to actually take it upon myself to like start working on that. But yes, like I remember when I was taking my 3-year-old to the doctor when he was 2 for a checkup, his pediatrician, they always have to check that part of the body. And the doctor specifically said to Oliver, I want you to know I'm about to touch your, and the only time anyone's ever allowed to do this is if your mom and dad are in the room or something along the lines. And so we reiterated that the other night. I was like, after seeing that documentary, I was like, just so you guys know, I want you to understand this is not something that no one should ever be getting close to that. Or, this has taken a turn. This was just, but okay, yes, it's a really important conversation. And I think you definitely need to have the conversation. And what you're doing when you're putting your kids in acting, you're putting them in situations that maybe they wouldn't have been in if they were just, other kids that aren't actors. So that means a lot of professional situations. It's like job interviews. So kids that are, on the soccer team, they're not going in on one-on-one meetings, but your 7-year-olds are. So it's important to have those conversations. But like I said, you have to be even more careful once the person that gets the job is, when you're working with people on a day-to-day basis, because that's when it gets a little bit more tricky. So you have to be a little bit more careful about that, I would say, than just like a typical audition. Oh, Greg, you're on here. Are you watching? Greg, if you're on here, say hi because I want to introduce you to everyone. Okay, so that's good. So we were talking about, child safety, and I totally think that's a great idea to have a conversation about that post Leaving Neverland and all of that craziness. And then also, we talked about the fact that Sarah, my friend who's watching, her husband is a producer on the All That remake, and I can't wait to dish on that. So I'm going to go for that. We're going to talk about that. Anyway, secondly, and another story is that I did send out an email today about my online classes, and they start, I want to say next week or the week after. They start the end of March, and they go into the beginning of April. They're each 4 weeks. I have 2 different classes. So make sure that you guys get signed up on those. Already a few seats have been sold on each of the classes. I want to make sure I have 12 max for each. So I want to make sure that you guys have opportunities to get in on that. And then what else can we talk about? Is there anything that you guys are struggling with specifically at this moment when it comes to auditions, or questions about anything? I also have my second in-person class this Saturday. Yes, I saw Amber, you're signed up. Thank you so much. I have my second in-person class this Saturday. It's a big group. It's 20 kids. It's going to be a party. But Courtney and I are going to have so much fun with it. We did the improv last time. It worked out so well. We're going to switch it up a little bit for the younger ones, because these are all like 6 and 7-year-olds to 10-year-olds. It's going to be younger. But I love working with both age groups for different reasons. The 6 to 10-year-old is like a little bit harder, to be honest, as a teacher. It's definitely more, you have to give a lot more energy, and you have to work harder, but you also get such a great reward working with these young kids, and the things that come out of their mouths are hysterical and fun. And then the older kids are a little bit more professional at it, so they understand everything a little bit more, and it's a great experience for both. And Christine, I saw that you can't make this one, but the next one. Ava, do we sign up online or contact you? For the online classes that are coming up that I released today, I sent out an email. If you did not get the email, I will post the links on my page. Or just shoot me an email, donna@donnabowling.com, and I'll send it over to you guys. Another thing I was thinking to talk about, what was I going to talk about? Oh yeah, I'm working on some stuff. I've been talking to a couple different parents in the last few days who have been giving me so much information about what they want for my next what questions do they want answered. So the truth is, I'm coming up with some really good content to answer your questions. If you guys have some really big questions, please reach out to me and give them to me. I want to make sure that I compile a huge list of questions so that when I do deliver all this content, I'm answering your questions and I'm not just talking to myself, which I can do all the time. And then another thing is my podcast episode, the next one that's coming out, will be listener questions. I already have about 4 or 5 that I answered, but I can always do another one. So if you have any questions that I think are podcast related, they will go on there. And that, I feel like that's it, but I feel like if you guys have any other questions about anything you ask me right now, this is the time. If you guys are questioning, I had a great conversation the other day with Amy Casson. She's a photographer in San Diego, and she works in LA, San Diego, and she's also, she's on my list of headshot photographers, about a service to provide. And I started talking to her, and we're kind of just marinating it, but it's a great idea. It's basically, instead of just a headshot review, which I do, and you can find that on my website, it's basically an overall online assessment. So it's basically what casting directors see when they look at your profiles. And it's not just a headshot, it's your online links, your profiles, all your footage, headshots, Instagram, social media, and so it's an all-encompassing review of you. And if you guys are interested in doing something like that, reach out to me, because we're putting it together as a service on the website. You just sign up, send all your info, and then give me a couple of days to review and send you back a full assessment. So I'm excited about that. And I feel like that's the majority of what people need. There's 2 things. Everyone's always saying, how do I get more auditions? That's the number. When I ask the group, can you guys tell me what the first thing that you guys really need to know, or what you want to know the most from me? And everyone says, how do I get more auditions? And the truth is, how do you get more auditions is by having a great package, right? Having a great online package. Now, in addition to having good reps, so there's a little bit of that too. But if you have good reps and you're still not getting all the auditions, or if you don't have reps and you're wondering how to get in with reps, this is a really great thing that I can offer to you, which is basically taking my casting director eyes and my, do you like that? Those are my casting director eyes and my acting coach eyes. So I've got now my casting director and my acting coach, and my my talent agent over here, and then my my mom here. So I've got all these different sets of eyes. But it's actually a really cool thing that I'm able to see it from a few different standpoints. So because I worked in casting, I see it from what a casting director sees amongst all the competition. And then because I worked as an agent, I also see what an agent wants from their talent, and what annoys them about talent, and what maybe makes them not want to sign someone versus sign someone else. So with all of that, I can give you guys some really good tips. So if you're interested in that, I already see a few people that are. Thank you so much. Just be on the lookout. Use your mom eyes on the lookout. I'm not funny, but I try. Anything else you guys want to talk about? Last minute questions? No? Okay. So I believe if that's it, then I will probably say goodbye. If you guys have anything that you want to kind of come up with and ask me questions, send me a message. Okay, I got something. Okay, Amber. I think the biggest anxiety is wanting to know if we're doing the right things at the right times. When you're not signed yet, it's up to us to navigate through. Yeah, so that's the biggest problem I find, like that, and that I swear this is why I do what I do, because when I was leaving Osbrink, and I knew being an agent wasn't for me, I remember thinking to myself, like, where is there a need in this industry that's not casting and that's not a rep? Like, where is there a need? Obviously, there's coaches, and I love being a coach. I love, helping people on auditions. But really, my passion is the idea of being able to give them tools and knowledge and, helping guiding and the whole part of it. So it's part of it is the audition, the actual way you deliver the lines and how to be funny and all the confidence part of it. And then a lot of it is also behind the scenes stuff. Because as an actor, I would imagine it feels very isolating. And you kind of feel like you're going through it alone, even if you have a good community of people, because you do feel like you don't really, I think actors live in this kind of fear that there's so much competition, and they don't want to ask, peers in the business for advice or whatever, because, it feels competitive. So my goal is to break down those walls and assume and show you that it doesn't need to be like this big competitive thing, and my helping you does not mean that my helping your neighbor who's also an actor does not mean that you now are at a loss. So it's hard to explain other than the fact that my goal here is to just make us feel a little bit more, you're not in this alone, and we're all going through it at different, I say we all, I'm not an actor, but actors and their parents go through it all at different levels. So, there's people that are literally, just today was the first day that their kids said, I want to be on TV. And I had a meeting the other night with someone down in San Diego area. They had never, ever done a thing. They had no idea where to start. So there's levels. And then there's that person that, okay, fine, they just started taking classes. They need an agent. And then they get an agent, but now they're not getting auditions. Or maybe they book 2 series regulars. I coach those too. People that book series regulars and then things are slowing down or they don't know what to do next. And sometimes people have managers for that reason, but I'm going to be honest, a lot of times people are scared to talk to their managers. They have an anxiety about calling their manager or their agent. Press a like here if you see that there's times that you have questions and you want to pick up the phone or you want to shoot an email to your manager and you're like, I don't want to bother them with that. They're too busy. I don't want them to be mad at me, or I don't want them to be annoyed with me. And I see thumbs up, because this is a common thing that happens. It's very normal to feel like I don't want to annoy them because I want them to like me, and I want to feel like they, want to submit us, and I don't want them to drop me. So I'm not going to ask them questions about should I staple my resume? Or I'm not going to ask them questions about which class I should take. Or I'm not going to ask them questions about, is there any way that I can get feedback for that role? Or or do you like this scene? Should I put this on the reel? So I'm just not going to ask. I don't want to bother them. But that's not realistic. That's not, it's realistic. I'm sorry. It is realistic, but that's not a good way to live. So, Amy, you feel that way exactly. And I feel like that's very common. Even with great managers, even with managers that are so hands-on and so awesome, I think there is like this weird anxiety, and there should be a little bit, because managers are so busy and agents are so busy that if we called them, I have some clients that call me or text me multiple times a day over small things, to the point where I feel like I can say, okay, I'm going to tell you to take a deep breath. Ask some of my clients. I've said that to their parents. I'm like, you need to take a deep breath. You need either a glass of wine or go like punch a bag or do a yoga class. You need to chill out about this and stop overthinking it. Because we do that as parents. We do that in general. And, it's tough when you have a manager and rep relationship. You don't want to cross the line. Right? We're going to put a pin on it. Oh my God, that's so funny. The agent from the movie Bold. That's so funny. It's so true. It's like, so I feel, you guys end up bottling up all this stuff. You don't want to bother them. Exactly. You don't want to bother your agents or your managers. So you end up kind of holding it in, and then overthinking it, losing sleep over it, maybe getting on social media, starting to panic because you see everyone on Instagram going on all these auditions. Why are they always on auditions, all these people? They're always on auditions. It's not true. But everyone feels like this need, like, what do they have that I don't? Maybe I need a better manager. I need someone else. I need a better manager because it's clearly my manager that's the problem, And so you get into this habit. So that's what I'm here for. So I'm kind of here to be that middleman that's saying, like, you're not crazy to have these questions. And this is a good question, but here's your answer. Don't bother your agent. Don't bother your manager on that. Or sometimes I say, I can't answer that one for you. That's a question for your manager. Okay, so Carissa, when you are not in a major market like LA, when do you know it's a good time to start branching out? How do you start breaking into those markets for your kids? From a MN is Minnesota, right? I'm like, it's not Montana. I feel like Montana is MT. Carissa, okay, I would say this. Sponsored by LaCroix. Hold on. I would say this. It's a case by case. So I hate just like putting a whole blanket statement, like when you are at this point is when you need to do this. If your kid is booking local things, if your kid's getting busy in your local market and really interested and really loves what they do, it's possible that you may want to start looking for the bigger cities kind of outside of your market. Now, I'll tell you, a lot of LA agents and managers have a hard time signing kids that are not local to LA. So that's going to be hard. But if you're willing to, fly in at the drop of a hat if you get an audition, I think it also depends on that. How available are you for it? If your kid is dying to be an actor, and not just dying to be an actor because they want to be on TV, dying to be an actor because that's really what they were here on earth to do, and they're an amazing performer, and they love to do this, and there's nothing really else that matches it, you're kind of going to have no choice but to branch out. If you want to let them follow their dreams. I have a friend she's now 30, but I remember when, we've been friends now for like 10 years, at least. Oh my God. I think I was with her on her 21st birthday. So she's an actress. And, a few years ago, she was struggling a lot, like really having a hard time with it and not getting a lot of auditions and not getting an agent and whatever. And I straight up, she was like 23 at the time, 24. And I was like, I'm just going to be honest with you. Maybe it's time to consider something else. Not that you're a bad actress, you're a great actress, but maybe it's time to consider something else. Only because this is not good. You have no money, you're severely unhappy. And she looked at me with these eyes, and I'm telling you, either she's a really good actress or this was how real it was. She looked at me with these eyes and she was like, there's literally nothing else on earth I'm meant to be doing. There's nothing else. I could do all the things. I could do them, but I would never feel happy if I wasn't doing this. And she said it with such passion and tears in her eyes that I, for the first time, was like, oh, okay, I get it. That's your calling. That's what you're supposed to be doing. And who am I to say don't do that? so that what you live the rest of your life like feeling like that what if feeling. That really went deep for your question, but I hope that answered what you were asking, Carissa. And how do you start breaking into those markets for your kids? I mean, reach out to me for sure, and we can talk specifically about your daughter or your son. But I think the general thing is just starting to submit to agents and managers. And there's like a list of agents and managers here in LA. You start submitting, and hopefully, you get a meeting. Okay, Annabella, do LA casting directors prefer LA actors versus other location actors, even if location actors are willing to be LA local hire? And the answer is yes. It doesn't feel as real unless they're actually here in LA. That's the truth. If they don't know that you're back in LA in your other town or whatever, then that's fine. But if they know that you're not here and you just say you're LA local, it feels kind of like not real. I hope that makes sense. Amy, yes, you're correct about the Instagram thing where everyone seems to be booking. Okay, you guys, according to my Instagram, every single person near me is like a multimillionaire. Like I have a different feed, right, than you guys are looking at. I mean, I have actors on my business, but like in my personal, all my friends have the smartest, most well-behaved babies. Their houses are $3 million new constructions, every single one of them. They have about, they're always drinking wine and eating oysters. Like, what kind of a life is this? They live the life of luxury. They're shopping. They're always bouncing on a trampoline somewhere. Okay. And when I say bouncing on a trampoline, I mean like for a workout. Okay. Sarah, 100% Chris will be on my podcast. Can you please, put that in his ear? Chris needs to be on my podcast. Okay, great advice. Okay, good. So I'm happy that you guys understand what I'm saying about, what was I saying? I don't even know. It's very easy to fall into this idea of we're not doing enough, we don't have enough, everyone else is doing more, and that's just not the case. I mean, yes, of course, there's going to be actors that are doing a little bit more than you. Always. And there's always going to be actors that aren't. And there's always going to be an actor that books more than you because that's just the way life works. There's acting coaches that I'm up against that are booking that, are 3 times as busy as me. It's just the way it is. But I have a message. I have my niche. I have my brand. And that's what I stick true to. It's like, I look here, right? I look at you guys. And I look at the people that I know that love me and that I follow. You guys were in like a little community, my little tribe. And that's who I pay attention to. I don't really pay attention to all the other acting coaches because trust me, if you put a Google search for kids acting coach Los Angeles, you can come up with 575,000 of them. Not really, but a lot. So it's not that there's a shortage of acting coaches, but the reason why I have clients that keep coming back to me and that I'm really strong with is because I just stick true to my message, which is confidence, which is about, giving you the best knowledge you possibly can to go into every single audition, teaching you guys all about the kids, all about first impressions and about how to, win over the hearts of a casting director, because that's really what it comes down to. It's much less about, the actual material at the beginning. And then for the parents, it's like, let's do this together. Let's handhold and let's go through this together and you don't have to feel so alone. Okay, so that's my little soapbox for the moment. And if you guys have any other questions, if you have any other thoughts that you want to talk to me about, and other than my manicure, my lack of manicure, then reach out to me. I'm here for you guys. I really try to be available. Thank you so much for listening to the podcast and sharing it with everyone. And for sure. Make sure that you reach out about the online classes that are coming up, because I think it's a really great experience for kids like Carissa, like kids like your kid who's not in LA. It's a really good thing. Amber, the difference is a good acting coach, honest. Aw, that's so sweet. We appreciate you. Thank you guys. I appreciate you. You don't even know. I really do. So thank you. And I will talk to you guys on the next one. I'll try to do this once a week. Okay, you guys, it will be live on Facebook to share. So share it away. Share it to all your friends. Make it pop. Okay, bye guys. See you soon. Bye, Sarah. Bye, guys.